All right, everyone, welcome back into another Taco Tuesday video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets on PrizePicks today, mostly with an emphasis in NBA, but touching on all the best prop bets that we currently have. So because this is going to be a more concentrated video on PrizePicks today, I do want to show you guys the best underdog bets that we are currently getting EV-wise. Right now, if you guys, someone that uses underdog as well, these are currently the best bets that we are getting. I want to start the video off with showing you guys that because it is going to be a video that I put emphasis on just highlighting the best bets for Taco Tuesday on PrizePicks. So with that, let's go in and get into, and I do want to start out with college basketball because we are getting one decent prop on the board today. That's going to be Mark Sears for under fantasy score. Now I would imagine we're going to get more than this. And again, I really like to see what the underdog line is before this. We saw yesterday with college football, there was a big edge for the national championship game. We didn't know which one it was going to be on for sure. The projection data would suggest, or the data that was coming in would suggest the edge that we were getting was on PrizePicks more so than underdog. That is what ended up happening yesterday. But all in all, we see with these college sports that underdog and PrizePicks, they tend to have some big discrepancies between their lines. So I do want to see what the line is going to be for underdog for the fantasy score lines for these players, because like on Saturday, we got a huge edge like we did last night with the national championship game, simply because, well, underdog and PrizePicks, they're giving us two different messages with how they thought the game was going to go. And so again, I do want to wait until we get that. Obviously, if the first taco comes out and this is the board that we have, I'd be fine with Mark Sears. It is slightly too thin at the same time. 31.5, we'd like that to be a little bit better, because you look at the average sportsbook line, it is also set at 31.5. The projection data does favor the under, but it's only about a 53% chance to hit. So again, decent, but again, probably just waiting college basketball wise. And then before we jump into NBA, just want to show you guys the current best EV bets that we are getting on PrizePicks. Right now, it's going to be all NHL. We got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good EV bets that we were getting there. I will say I don't like the fact that the projection data is favoring the over for these two. Maybe not two that I'll be attacking personally too much, but we have Trevor Zegras for under 2.5 shots on goal. Projection data likes that as well. So, seemingly got three good NHL bets there. And then lastly, I do want to just check discrepancies, seeing if we're getting any edges there. Not too much. I will say this is kind of interesting for total games. 2.5 game difference. That's kind of a lot. And for those of you that don't know, like the tennis projection data is a little bit different for underdog because it's taking the total games won and the total games lost and combining those together. Whereas for PrizePicks, that is the data point, is total games. So it can, typically speaking, the underdog line is going to be a little bit higher than the PrizePicks line because of that. But all in all, this is actually something I don't mind. I think this is a decent middling opportunity because 2.5 is a decent amount, right? Like, I think I'm going to, if we don't get any better bets throughout this video, I probably will be putting that one in there. But now let's go and get into NBA. So the one unfortunate thing about today's board is that we currently aren't getting a ton of NBA games and college basketball prop wise. We're not getting a lot of prop. Hopefully that changes throughout the day. Again, if it does, guys, head on over to the 905 Sports cheat sheet. We'll have that stuff in there. But right now I want to take a peek at the ODDSJAM Sportsbook view to give you guys a preview of the NBA slate. Prepare for the lines once they start to come out. So the first game that we have is going to be the Magic versus the Timberwolves. 5-point spread, really low game total at 216.5. Looking at the Magic, they are still kind of banged up. You got Franz Wagner out, Wendell Carter out, Joe Ingles out, Gary Harris out, and then Jonathan Isaac out. That is a lot of players that are out, which should mean good things for the Orlando Bigs, but they kind of get a difficult matchup today going against the Timberwolves, going against Rudy Gobert, going against Towns. And so Goga did have a pretty darn good game in his last game. That was a decent, slightly better matchup, I should say, against Atlanta. Just a pace up spot for them, where this game is the exact opposite of that game against Atlanta. So I don't know. I'm kind of worried about him having a good game. And one player that I actually don't mind is Mo Wagner. Got 25 minutes in the last game, 38 minutes in the previous game. If he's going to be someone that does get around 25 minutes, he is a point per minute producer, as we can kind of see here. Maybe he'd be someone that we're looking at. Banchero is the player that really benefited the most. So he has been going off. That continued again in the last game. 45 minutes, 41 minutes, 45 minutes. Like, with everyone so banged up, he has been getting some additional run. And then Cole Anthony, if he's going to be getting us 30 minutes, again, with all those other players out, that is something that's intriguing to me. But one thing I want to note is that Markelle Fultz is currently back as well. Only played 15 minutes in the first game. Got to see if that's going to change at all today. If it doesn't, if we get news that he's still limited, then Cole Anthony would be a decent prop bet. And so looking at the prop bets that we are currently getting right now, it kind of makes sense why we're not getting any Cole Anthony props. Again, if he has a good game, it's going to be because Fultz is going to have his minutes limited. So until we get that news, we might not get that prop. I'm kind of okay with Goga for under points and assists. Again, I think he's going to have a worse game today going against the Timberwolves. It's a more difficult matchup. Jalen Suggs over 2.5 threes. I want to take a peek at that. Now, yesterday we saw with Jabari Smith, like, was seemingly an okay prop bet. And I mentioned that it was an okay prop bet. The expectation was that I was going to get 5 3-balls up. You just need to make 2 of them. That did not happen. And so the expectation for Jalen Suggs is that he's going to go 3 for 7. That is really the hope here. So you can hope that he gets 7 3-ball attempts. That's really what we're hoping for there. And he just needs to make 3 of them. That's really what we're betting on, is the 3-ball attempts to continue to be there for him. And I would imagine that they are going to be there. He is someone that should get a lot of minutes in this game as well, if Fultz is going to be limited as well. Fultz still gets only 15 minutes. We can see in this game, guys, Jalen Suggs fouled out and he still played a decent amount. And so he will have a slight increase in usage with Wagner off the court and with all those other guards off the court. So I don't mind that for Jalen Suggs as well. And now jumping into the Timberwolves here. So yeah, Rudy Gobert for under rebounds and assists, I'm probably not touching. I would probably actually think that's a better like bet for a sports book. I'm not too worried about the Magic right now. This one's interesting, at least for Underdog. This is actually really weird. I guess they're both. So this got bumped up to 12, but this is pretty much telling us that Rudy Gobert is not going to get 2 assists. I would say that that's probably true. It's just weird that this one's being favored for the over and this one's being favored for the under. From there, a lot of people were on Ant-Man last game against Atlanta, DFS wise, and I was slightly shocked by it. And they were correct. You know, he went off in that game, against Dallas. And they were correct. And he has been someone that has been playing better recently, but this is going to be a much more difficult matchup. And maybe that does lead to him facilitating the basketball a little bit more. Maybe that does lead to him getting 5 assists like he does average on the season. I do think that's noteworthy, is that Ant-Man does average 5 assists on the season. So for him to get an extra assist in this game wouldn't be too shocking. Again, though, it is a lower scoring game. And then to me, that's kind of it in terms of the prop bets that we were getting that I would personally want to be on. So let's go ahead and move on into the next game. Looking at the next game, we got the Kings versus the Pistons, almost 11 point spread, 240 or so for the over and under as well. Looking at it, guys, Isaiah Stewart is still out. Cade Cunningham is out. That's obviously a big piece of news. And then Trey Lyles for the Kings is going to be out. But this is obviously a point of emphasis that we need to talk about for this game. So first, I want to see if we're getting any Detroit props. We're probably getting Jalen Duren props. We are getting Killian Hayes props and Jaden Ivey. Oh, man. All right. So I do think that this should be a good spot for us. I need to take a peek at the per 36 production, though. So the first thing I actually want to do is take a peek at the projected starting lineup. So Hayes, Ivey. Okay, that's what I wanted to see, because Burks is there. He's healthy. He's going to be someone that does well as well. Alec Burks, that is. But as long as those two are starting for Detroit, Hayes and Ivey, they might be 2 players I'm interested in looking at. So just looking at the per 36 production, Jaden Ivey gets the least amount of minutes with Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart off the court, just as an FY. Now, what I think is important to look at is his projected minutes tonight. So let's just say 34, 30, whatever, 33 or so minutes. And we can see that's a big increase from his typical minute. And so when we're looking at his per 36 production here, it probably will be more noteworthy than it typically is. So Jaden Ivey, per 36 production, again, with Cunningham and Stewart off the court, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And so already, if you give him 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, that's 32. That's a pretty big projected edge. Now, again, don't expect him to get 30 minutes or 36 minutes. He's projected to get 33 minutes, and that could be a little bit risky as is, guys. But all in all, to me, I think we are getting an edge here. And I love the fact that the data is agreeing that the overs are the correct moves, even though those edges that we were getting are minimal. Like, again, we want to be chasing lines that have a 54% chance to hit. But all in all, I like the fact that the data is agreeing. And honestly, maybe the best one would be points. Our sportsbook line has it at 16. The average projection would have it set at 16.5. This feels like a lot like Chris Middleton last night. Chris Middleton last night was one of my favorite bets for his over points. That was another situation where if that didn't come true, I would have been very tilted, because if you guys were following, I did a couple of preview videos where we got some huge edges, like lines getting bumped or lines having like a 55% likelihood to hit and whatnot and just missing. That's actually what ended up happening with Chris Middleton last night, is that by lineup lock, he had like a 56% chance to get over 19.5 points. And had that not happened, I would have been on full tilt. But yeah, Jaden Ivey, I just want to show you guys the times that he does get around 33 minutes or so. So 35, 23 points, 24 points, 34 minutes, 18 points. Let's see here, 33 minutes, 15 points, 32 minutes, 25 points. And so again, if he does get 33 minutes like he's projected to get, getting 15.5 points should be simple for him to do tonight. And then the other player that I want to take a peek at is going to be Killian Hayes. Like, strangely enough, Bogdanovich's role does change, and he does average 5.5 more points and 5% higher usage rate. But in terms of minutes, it goes Burks, Hayes, Sasser, Wiseman, Ivy. Again, that's with Stewart and also Cade Cunningham off the court. And so Killian Hayes is probably going to be someone that we are getting some good props on as well. So Hayes is someone per 36 production. Again, not going to get 36 minutes, going to probably get 32, but that could be too low as well. But again, looking at his per 36 production with those players off the court, averages 9.6 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 8 assists. So all in all, you add those up together, should be a pretty good edge that we are getting there. But really, maybe assist is the better prop. Maybe rebounds and assist, actually. That's probably the best one. This should be at 12. Looking at the per 36 production, so at the very least, maybe 10. But I really don't mind all of it. Like, points, rebounds, and assists, there is a decent stacking opportunity there. And so again, let's look at those games in which he has gotten, 30 plus minutes. We can see he's played pretty well. Nothing too significant. He had one really good game. I remember that. To me, I don't typically like attacking those like low volume type plays, but all in all, not terrible. And I'm actually curious to see if Burks will get more running this, like the data is kind of suggesting, because he has a 7% bump in usage with Cade Cunningham off the court, averages a 27% usage rate, 27 points, 3.4 rebounds, 2 assists as well. So he's definitely someone that gets a big bump. And then I guess I'll talk about Bogdanovich as well. It could be noteworthy. So he actually does have the highest usage rate of the team with Cade Cunningham off the court. And because it's a small sample size of having Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart in this sample, I'm going to take Isaiah Stewart off just to see, which personally I don't exactly agree with, because Bogdanovich has been getting minutes as a big, but I just want to see what this data tells us. So still not a lot of minutes with Cade Cunningham off the court. He has been playing a bunch, but Bogdanovich's per 36 production with Cade Cunningham off the court is 26 points. So already an edge there, 3.4 rebounds, and then 2.6 assists. So really, if you're making a bet on Bogdanovich, it's probably just on point. Now, my expectation is that he would get a few more turnovers. He averages 3.8 turnovers, and so maybe there's something there to bet the over for turnovers. And if you take a peek at his projected minutes, projected to get 34 minutes, that's what he averages. So that's nice, and we can just expect him to get a slight increase in his role. So I do think we're getting some pretty good prop bets for Detroit. And so let's go ahead and move on into the Kings. So looking at the Kings, Sabonis is going to get a pretty good matchup going against Detroit. Now, Jalen Duren has been pretty good for a young player, don't get me wrong. But with Isaiah Stewart not there, that's going to mean Wiseman or Bagley getting minutes, and they're obviously not as good of players, I think, as Stewart, especially defenders. And we can see over the past few games, Sabonis has been crushing his over rebounds. Even in games that they've been blowing out teams, he has been able to get the over. Obviously, against the Pels, they got blown out. He only played 29 minutes in that game. That is something that can happen tonight. They could get blown out, or they could blow out Detroit for sure. And he's probably only going to get 33 minutes in this game. But all in all, he has been crushing those over rebounds lately. And I would say if Trey Lyles sits, that might just secure an extra minute or two for Sabonis. So I would agree that is the best prop bet for the Kings. Whether or not you want to take that, tough to say. And then for me, I don't really want to touch any of the other Kings props. So let's go ahead and get into the next game. So looking at the next game, we got Portland versus the Knicks, 12-point spread, 227 or so for the over and under. We know Portland has been difficult in the sense that they are always injured, and tonight is no exception to that. So Aiden is a game time decision. If he plays, I do think that makes it a little bit more difficult for the Knicks. We'll see. Jabari Walker, game time decision. But for the most part, Portland's healthy tonight, which is definitely interesting. And so looking at the prop bets that we are getting for Portland, I personally think that they are kind of stayaways tonight with everyone healthy. I think that there's more of a feel it out phase going on right now. Scoot Henderson has been playing better lately. Simons is coming in off of a massive game. Malcolm Brogdon is still there, who's been a point per minute producer. Jeremy Grant's going to get his shot attempts up. And then if you add in DeAndre Ayton, then that's another, scorer that's going to be on the court. So all in all, I kind of do feel like Portland is a stay away right now. And last game, we actually saw Scoot Henderson's minutes go down with everyone healthy. So he had been getting about 33 to really 38 minutes, and those went down. So yeah, I don't think we want to be touching anyone from Portland. And then looking at New York, Isaiah Hartenstein for over his points, 9.5. That's okay. I don't love it though. Dante DiVincenzo has been someone that's been playing a lot, shooting a lot as well, around 25 minutes or so. I don't mind that. It does feel a little bit too thin. And then I don't know, guys. I think OG has been playing pretty well lately for the Knicks. That's a trade that seemingly has worked out for both teams. And so last game against Washington was an easy matchup. He didn't exactly do much points wise, only 9 in that game. And that's slightly concerning because this is an easy matchup as well. But all in all, I do think with the Knicks, he's going to consistently kind of get that over. But that's also why it's at 52. So kind of a moot point there. Let's just go ahead and move on into the next game here. We got the Mavericks versus the Grizz. Obviously, Ja Morant out for the season. 8-point spread, 234. Looking at the Grizzlies, they are pretty banged up then. Yeah, Darren Jackson Jr., game time decision. Senti Aldama, game time decision. Derrick Rose out. And then looking at the Mavericks, we need to get confirmation on Luka if he's going to play. We don't know for sure. Derek Lively out, Dante Exum out. Yeah, we'll see. This is an interesting spot for these two teams. And so we are getting some projections for Jaren Jackson Jr. So to me, that suggests that he is going to play. We have seen this before with this team with Ja Morant off the court. But we also got to factor in that Derrick Rose is going to be off the court. Those are two pretty high usage rate players when they are on the court. And they also have Luke Kennard back tonight. He's been back for a while now. And so if he's going to be someone that continually gets minutes, I think we might actually want to look at him a little bit. But looking at the per 36 for production with Derrick Rose and Ja Morant off the court, Desmond Bane is someone that per 36 averages 27 points, so right there, 4.6 rebounds, 5.7 assists. So all in all, I would say the lines that we were getting on Desmond Bane are seemingly correct tonight. We're not getting an edge there. And then after that, it does go Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. per 36 production, 25.5 points, 6.7 rebounds, and then 2.1 assists. Again, that line is seemingly correct. We have seen this before, so it makes sense why the lines are pretty good tonight. And by pretty good, I mean not good for us. Pretty accurate, I should say. I do want to mention Luke Kennard, though. He is someone I do think could get a little bit more run tonight. Marcus Smart, though, he's going to get 36 minutes. He has been playing well lately. I do want to call that out. Maybe we get some good lines on him. His per 36 production is 16.4 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 6.4 assists. So he definitely gets a bump. And he probably will get 36 minutes. Heck, he might get more than. So he's someone I do think we could be looking at. Again, though, I think maybe Luke Kennard is something that gets like 25 minutes tonight. Kennard would average 13 points per 36, 4.5 rebounds, 3.8 assists, while averaging 9 3-ball attempts per 36. So again, probably only going to get 25 minutes, so it might be a little bit too thin, actually. Probably just Marcus Smart if we get some good props on him. But let's go ahead and move on into the other side of this game. Looking at Dallas, I imagine we're only getting Luka props. No, we aren't. Okay, so Luka must be expected to play. So I don't like any of them, honestly, guys. Kyrie played pretty well in the last game, but he gets Marcus Smart defense. Yeah, I don't feel like we need to chase anything there for Dallas. So let's move on into the last game on the slate. We got the Raptors versus the Lakers. 5-point spread or so, 235 or so for the over and under. Looking at Jakob Poeltl's out. So that is a big piece of news. Remember, they trade away Precious, and so we got to figure out, is it going to be Pascal Siakam or not? For the Lakers, they got Russell back last game. They're always listing LeBron and AD as potentially going to sit. I don't think we need to worry about that too much. So let's go ahead and jump on into the Raptors. Now, we got to remember, Toronto just made a trade. They have Quickly, and they also have RJ Barrett now. Both of them have been playing extremely well for Toronto thus far. Both of them have been exceeding, I think, expectations thus far. Almost seems like Toronto won the trade by a mile. And looking at it right now, guys, the data would suggest minutes-wise, Gary Trent Jr. could get a little bit more run, but it's going to be Chris Bouchard. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. I'm pretty sure there's a weird pronunciation with his last name, and I don't want to look it up right now. But he is someone that I do think is going to get more run. It just makes logical sense. He'll probably start tonight. The question is, how many minutes will he get? I think we'll see a max of the 28 minutes right here. That would kind of be what I'm expecting. Just for what it's worth, though, his per 36 production is 17 points, 10.7 rebounds, 1 assist, and he doesn't turn over the ball too much. Now, he does average 5 fouls, so there's the potential that he could get into foul trouble. But if he is someone that gets around 30 minutes, he's going to be a point per minute producer. The Lakers have struggled defensively, so maybe there's something there. Maybe he's someone we can look at. But all in all, I personally think it's going to be Siakam, and so I want to see what we are getting for his line. So points at 21, is that too high or too low? Averages 25.3 points per 36 with Jakob Poeltl off the court, and also Precious. So all in all, I actually don't mind that one. That's about 3 more points per 36 for him. And then it is kind of weird, but Scotty Barnes does see a slight uptick in usage with Jakob Poeltl off the court. About a 4% bump in usage. So if he's going to get a 4% bump in usage, I do think there's something there. And that would tell me maybe the points and assists is a little bit too low. His per 36 production with Jakob Poeltl off the court is 23 points, 6.2 assists. So honestly, there might be something there for Scotty Barnes tonight. 24.5. That kind of seems a little bit too low. But again, like this team, they are going through a slight adjustment period. So Scotty Barnes played 24 minutes in the last game, 35, 40. it's a good spot with Joachim Pertl being out, but it also feels like a spot where we should kind of just take the wait and see approach still. Maybe there's going to be some better lines that pop up. Looking at the Lakers, personally, guys, I don't like any of them. Maybe LeBron for over points, rebounds, and assists. Again, with Toronto being as banged up as they are big-wise, he should be able to feast at the same time. So should LeBron, or so should Anthony Davis. Personally, I just don't like the lines that we were getting. And so real quickly, before we get into the bet of the day today for the Taco Tuesdays, I do want to call it that we did get some slight updates in the data for college basketball, significant enough for me to kind of mention it. So Cam Carter now the best fantasy score prop. That's one that I'm going to be perfectly fine rolling with. Do want to mention that on Sunday, the two best college basketball prop bets that we had both mid. Now, prior to that, we were seemingly getting some pretty big edges college basketball wise on Saturday and Friday. Those ended up hitting. That's kind of the expectation with college basketball, it seems like. So like it's either PrizePicks is really on that day, or Underdog for that matter, or the sports picks are like there. That's just college sports. I think yesterday was a good example of that with the national championship, where Underdog was given one message for how the game was going to go, and PrizePicks was suggesting the exact opposite. So that is kind of how college sports go. They're a lot harder to give proper lines on, and that's why some days they're really good days, some days they're really bad. But I like the fact that when they hit, a majority of them are hitting. You know, it's going to be a good day prop betting wise. Now, looking at the bet of the day, guys, right now, again, my strategy is that I tell people to do for the average person is I think that they should take whatever taco we have and then pair that individually with each of these props. That way, when let's say 2 of them hit or 3 of them hit and all the tacos hit or 2 of the tacos hit, you are going to end up with profit, or at least you're going to break even. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that. If you just want to max, put in your favorite bet and do the max entry, I get that. If you want to do a 6 slip bet, I get that. Just stick to the same strategy when it comes to Taco Tuesday, because the tacos are going to hit at a much higher rate. I think they're hitting at like 80%, or they hit at about 80% in 2023. So with that, just stick to the same strategy. You're going to be rewarded in the long term by doing that. So right now, I do want to mention Jalen Suggs. I have kind of come around to that. I think that's a decent one. Points, rebounds, and assists. Again, that game total is very low. He fouled out in the last game against Atlanta, played 29 minutes. My expectation is going to be that he gets more minutes. And so I went with Jaden Ivey points, rebounds, and assists because his points prop got bumped up to 16. I still think at 16 it is too low, but at that point, if we're projecting him to get 4.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds as well, like the sportsbooks lines are saying, then to me, it makes sense to then go with points, rebounds, and assists. This is the best EV bet that we are currently getting on the board. I don't know much about hockey, guys. I just roll with whatever the data says. This one I like, just given the discrepancies that we have in the lines. Typically speaking, the total games is not going to be a 2.5 game difference like it is between PrizePicks and Underdog today. That is much more of a, if you also bet on Underdog and place that bet, all in all, seems to be a slight edge. And then Cam Carter over fantasy score. That's seemingly the best prop bet that we currently have on the board just in general when looking at edge. Granted, I wish we could compare it against the Underdog line. And that being said, guys, you can do that hopefully once Underdog updates the lines. Once they do, head on over to 95sports.com to see which prop bets are going to be the best prop bets for both PrizePicks and Underdog. Thank you guys for watching this. Have a good slate today. If you guys want access to the cheat sheet, $10 a month, head on over to 95sports.com. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.